Today is your birthday. Yesterday was too, and so is tomorrow. Not sure what that means? Let us introduce you to this powerful concept in our community. We are thrilled you have joined. Who are we, you might ask? We are Helene and Christina, and we are on a mission to empower, teach, and remind women to celebrate themselves. Combined, we have over 35 years as therapists in private practice. It was in the office, as well as in our personal lives, that we were hearing week after week of women sharing that they were struggling and often not feeling seen or alive during their, quote, messy middle life stage. Not sure how we define that? Go back to episode 2 of season 1. We talk all about it.
We come to you today not as your therapist, but rather two women in this life stage with you. We are here to be your friends. Our podcast promises to talk about hard or comfortable topics in a way to empower you, laugh along the way, mostly at me, as part of your healing and find joy. And we strive to find the meaning in the middle of the messy or unknown. What sets us apart? We leave you with gifts each and every episode. These may come in the form of actionable tools or strategies, invitations to be exactly where you are, and sometimes, mic drop, thought-provoking ideas.
Now that we're friends, let's make this official. We would love to help start your Thursday mornings, so make sure you follow the show wherever you follow us. Sign up for our free newsletter at yourbirthdaypodcast.com. And those gifts that Christina just mentioned, you ready for some today? We'll drop them right in your inbox. Go take our free quiz, and immediately gifts of how to live your life will show up.
Oh my gosh, this episode is so much fun because we're going to chat about how to play. That's right, friends. Even as adults, we can totally play. And playing is a gift to our life, and it's a way of rejuvenating. It's a way of learning. It's a way of growing. It is just incredible. So grab your drink of choice, turn up the volume, and let's have some fun.
We're talking about playing, which is really fun, I think, for two people who are type A, working on their perfectionism. You're better at playing, right? You're the sprinkle of color. Clearly, she's got hot pink on. I'm still in the black and tan mode with sprinkles of color at times. But I think it's going to be fun to talk about play because that's one of the questions that I actually have on my intake when I see people in the office. Teach me about how you play and what does it look like? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, what the fuck do you mean by playing? I've got shit going on in my life. I'm like, no, let's talk about playing. How do you do it? So I love Yes, it's one of my questions.
I love this. Like, I need to pause the podcast and go put that on my intake form.
Go for it. Let's
fully
do
Toledo.
it. And if you're having this intake this Thursday morning with your coffee, start by asking yourself that question.
Yeah.
Do I play? And what does it look like?
That is so fun. So, truth, my husband and I just started marriage counseling. Well, no, we're on our 3rd marriage counselor because we didn't like the first 2. But we
have to interview your therapist.
I know. And we here's what I would say. We agreed that we didn't like the first 2 and we love this 3rd one. And I hope she doesn't listen. I don't know if she does.
Yeah, but you just gave her a shout out. So
I know she's really
listening.
Awesome. And her first name is Carol, which is just so perfect because my mom's name was Carol. So I felt like it was a sign, and Ethan totally drives with her. So it's really cool. But anyway, she has started to have this conversation, like, what do we do together for fun? And we always jump back to we do this with our kids. We do this with our kids. We do this with our kids. And she's like, and the 2 of you. And we're like, what? What? I mean, we used to before kids. Mm-hmm. That's the conversation. But I love this. And I guess what comes to mind is our best friends were just visiting from Florida, came to the frozen tundra, and we did a lot of playing together. And I'm not going to over explain everything that's going on in my life for now, but I got a lot of happening, as Helene knows. And so I just needed that play. And it was fun because I was sending pictures to our marketing person, and I was like, here's a picture of me sledding. Here's a picture of me skiing. We were playing all the winter things.
And I was so happy to see that because if you have someone in your life, like whether it's you or someone that you love or you care about, and you know that they're going through a hard moment, to remind them to play, it doesn't
Hmm.
remove the hard moment, but it helps them be more in the hard moment and also be with themselves. So when I saw those pictures that you were sending to me and Haley, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. She's all bundled up and going down the snow and she's with her BFF and the kiddos. Like I could see joy. In
Yes,
that
it was
moment,
totally
in
what
the
I mean.
midst of a storm of hard, there could be
Yes.
moments of joy. So doing the hard.
Yeah. So anyway, total caveat because I'm really good at taking us off track and Helene's really good at steering us back. Like that's our strengths. And so I think we got to first start talking about the science of this because
Mhm.
we are scientists at our core as mental health practitioners. And, we're an extension of medicine, I always say. And while today we're talking amongst our friends, not our patients,
Right.
I think there's so much science behind the power of play.
You mean talking about the benefits when we're talking about the
Yeah.
science and how it
Yes.
benefits us physically, emotionally, spiritually?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Helene, when you bring this up to patients, like, what do you talk about regarding what they're going to see in their body and mind?
Right. And, being in the office, like you choose how much self-disclosure you'll do. So I may not tell this story, but when you brought that up, and I think about someone who myself historically is very type A, wound it very tight. I don't think people would think of me as someone who plays a lot. But I remember when the kids were young, so I'll tell a little bit of the story. Like, I understand a little bit about what you're going through. You've got to get, you to work, all the lunches, get the kids out the door, the dog pack, like all the, like it is a cluster storm of stress. And the clock is ticking, and you know how long you have to get to the office. And there was that moment when my kids were younger, and like one of them in particular just would not get dressed in time. And I'm sure my stress just went up and up and up and up. And I would do things that I wouldn't be proud of, be yelling because of the pressure in the background. Got to get to school, got to get to work, all the things. So finally, one day, the song like Kuna Matata just came in my head. I'm like, this is a Kuna Matata moment. And I downloaded that song and we would just play Kuna Matata. And when that came on, it just lightened the air. And we just all just start dancing, be like Kuna Matata. And like we ended up having that moment and it still happens now. Like we go on vacation and we're going skiing, let's say, and we all got to get out because we have to get there on time and all things. I'm like, Kuna Matata moment. And my kids are 19 and 21. So in that moment, it just changed the energy and they saw me different.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are in an environment, I would tell people where you can be the pivotal person of how you can influence.
Mm-hmm.
If you can tap into play and let
Mm-hmm.
go, you
Mm-hmm.
might end up bridging connection and
Mm-hmm.
cooperation. So that
Mm-hmm.
would be an example. Be mindful of how you are. So now to this day, when I hear Kuna Matata, like I just like want to start dancing and moving around, and
Oh.
everything about me just changes, and I'm more approachable and I'm lighter. So,
And Mufasa just came out in theaters. I want to go see it. That's so cool.
so that was a long answer for a short
Oh,
question, which is what I do.
no, I love that. I
Mhm.
absolutely love that. And, we know from the research just what stress can do to the body. Like, literally, it can change your mind. Like, it affects your memory, it affects your concentration, it affects, your ability to focus. Like, all of these things
Right.
physically. Like it screws up our GI tract. It can give us a heart attack. It can give us a stroke. Like, hello, people, stress is a problem, and what's anxiety? Trying to control what we can't control, right? So,
Mhm.
the cool thing about play is it helps us to release that stress. And if you can start to see exercise as play, as joy, as things like that, you're finding really positive ways to release that stress. And, Helene
I
and
love
I
that.
always sprinkle pickleball into every episode because it's a huge part of my identity and it's becoming a huge part of
Yeah.
Helene's. And so, for me, pickleball is probably 90% laughter and fucking up. Just put it bluntly. like just screwing up. Like
I'm more fucking up right now and like learning to laugh at myself even more.
I am, I play with three women that are like really phenomenal humans. I definitely think I'm the worst pickleball player of the four of us, and I'm okay with that. Like my identity is not screwed up by that at all. Um, but yeah, so there's a lot of laughing at me. They would say it is not a full game unless I'm crossing my legs and having to turn my back to them so I don't pee my pants because I'm laughing so hard. And then I frequently have to run to a bathroom, which they think is hilarious because I'm also like the youngest by like I think like 7 or 8 years. So it's really funny to them. But it's all about play.
It is, and I love with that story. So, and I don't know these other three women, and I hope that they go into pickleball to have 90% of joy and fun. But if there are people, and if you're pickleball players, like you could see people who are serious. Like my husband and I went one weekend, I was like, ooh, game on with this person. Like it was like, woof. And I was like, woof. And he was like, woof. Like there was nothing warm and fuzzy. There was warm and fuzzy
Yeah.
to other people, but I think they never
Oh,
played with us. So there was like kind of
yeah.
like, all right, who are these people?
If you played with us, you do a lot of
But
laughing.
if
We get you laughing.
you laughing at yourself can help other people laugh. So if we're playing with people who are kind of serious and I fuck up, which again, like I do often because I'm learning, and I can laugh at myself and I'm like, okay, like it does bring down the energy and there's more connection, even though I do find pickleball one of those places that people are just generally very kind and sweet and hi, how
Oh
are
yeah.
you? But when you can make fun of yourself or you can change the energy like I did with my kids, it can be contagious. And Christine and I talk a lot about the trickle effect and the impact that you can
Hmm.
have in your environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something, my husband and I talk about all the time is how do you discipline in a fun way? It's interesting. I was just watching Dr. Becky Kennedy Good Inside on Instagram literally the other night as I was like just
Refer to her all the time.
brain vomiting.
Yeah.
And she had an episode that she talks about like when a kid's being difficult. And I don't remember the whole gist of it, but she said at one point she just grabbed the kid and what did she say? Oh, she just picked him up and hugged him.
Right.
And it totally changed the energy. Or, in our last episode with Erin, how Erin talked about how she was having a difficult moment with her child and she just piggybacked him to brush their teeth
Yeah.
and how huge that was, right? So I think, when you can turn things into joy, when you can turn things into play, we know the power of play. Look at what these major corps are doing, like Google and Apple and all of them. They have like playrooms in their office
Yep.
centers for that very reason, because they know that when you have the power of play, it turns on all these creative cells in your brain and these calming cells, right? That you're
Right.
able to focus better, you're able to work better. Like they get better work out of people when they've had opportunities to play.
Right. And they see that in college campuses, like even in the dorm where my daughter lives, like they have two dogs,
Mhm.
they have a mindfulness room, they have a room full of like squishy, like all the hand gadgets. Like it invites creativity and calm and visibility to be more in connection with yourself. So there's I love that we're talking about science and all the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm. And it helps you to enhance your relationship. So when Ethan and I first started dating, we got very into mini golf, and I could have told you back then about all the mini golf places in Fort Myers.
Uh-huh.
And I had a favorite where I always seemed to win, and he had a favorite where he always seemed to win, and it was like our thing.
Right.
And when Carol asks us about play, we
Uh-huh.
both went back to mini golf. And
Oh,
we have a couple like indoor adult only mini golf places here that have cocktails and they're kind of fun. And so we both were like, yeah, we need to do a mini golf date.
you reconnected with a part of you who knew how to play really well before the busy part of life.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love that.
absolutely. And so, figure out how you play together. How do you guys play together? Like, and how do you play by yourself?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we know how to play alone when we become adults either. Like, we always think play needs to be with somebody. And if you are an introverted person,
Mhm.
I'm going to date this podcast for a second. Yesterday, I guess, was National Internet International or National, I don't know, Introvert Day.
Oh, I
So,
did read that.
yeah. So, anyway, don't be afraid to play alone, whatever that looks like. Like
Right.
in the summer at the lake, I love to go paddleboarding by myself. I
Mm.
love it. Like I'm by myself, it's me. Hopefully, a loon will pop up or somebody else in the water, not human, like we don't have mermaids,
Right.
sorry, but like a creature of some sort. And I just love it. It is so peaceful. The lake is glass. All you hear is like the paddleboard slapping the water. Like I could just go literally through my five
Mm.
senses of just how they heal in that moment.
Yeah.
Like playing is healing.
And I think so often my experiences is that people get to maybe that stage of their life when they own their time more. They definitely needed this podcast beforehand, but like when they retire, and then there's that
Mhm.
overwhelm of what do I do? But if you start
Oh my gosh,
practicing and
yes.
incorporating play now, that version of you, when they are ready to retire, is so much ahead of the game. And it's already been healing their body, like Christina said. So we want you to have a jump start. Again, we're always talking about taking care of the version in front of you by healing the one in front of you. And if you start
Yes.
doing that now, you're going to have the benefits now and later on.
Yes. Healing the woman in front of you is by healing the woman inside you now. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think too, like it is hard as women to balance this because, on
Mm.
one hand, when we get goofy and silly, we're dubbed dumb blondes, we're dubbed, less than, we're dubbed as kids, and for most of our evolution, we've been categorized as kids, women and children, right?
And
And
we get
men,
that. Yep.
right? So when we think of this, I think women really struggle to balance this because we fight so hard to be respected and treated as equals and to be at the table where any man is. And it is so hard. So I think we really struggle to balance with, being that serious woman who demands the respect and deserves the respect
Right.
and still being able to be playful and fun. So I think, we've got many high power women listening to us who are similar to ourselves. And so, how do you balance that productive seriousness, need to get all my shit done, my 50 million to do lists? I mean, I've got like 4 post-it notes on my desk right now,
Right.
and play. Like, when do you just shut off?
And when you do, I would own it and celebrate it. Like I remember several years ago, I saw like couples and one, since we're talking about women, like whether it was a physician or someone who you think would be in a position, work related, that they wouldn't do play or something that appears kind of mindless. Like one woman, like her downtime, she loved watching the Kardashians. And the husband just was shocked by it. He's like, I just see you like taking care of all these patients and doing all these things, and you do consulting and you're gonna write a book and like all these things, and then you watch this, and I just don't get it. And she's like, oh, I get to look at the clothes. I get to see who has the biggest hair. I get to just smile and maybe see a version of me that isn't like developed yet. And I just let go and have fun. Or
Right.
sometimes older women that will come in and they'll be like, I love watching The Bachelor. Like, it's just fun and goofy. And then they come together and they may have like a bachelor night. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like it's quiet. Like, let's not talk about it. No, talk about it and own it. You can be this. And if you listen to our episode with the power of the and, you could be this high powered woman and enjoy play. It
And be a
doesn't take
lot of fun.
away. You don't
Yes.
have to not have one or the other. Let them both exist within you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I realize like I've allowed myself to play because it's a way of connecting with my kids. And so I feel like it's filling me up as a mom and filling them up,
Right.
and it's interesting because you're saying that. And in my head, I'm thinking, like, would I ask myself, like, would I play by myself if I didn't have children in this time of my
Ooh,
life?
that's a powerful question. So if you're a mom, I guess what I guess what you're challenging people, whether you're mom or not mom, right? Because we're all about like
Yeah,
mom or
you don't
not
have to be a
momming,
mom.
right? If you didn't have these other connections or maybe these other quote reasons or experiences in your life inviting play, would you play outside of that and do it just for yourself, if I'm hearing you?
Yeah. Like if you didn't have this push, would you do it for you? Like when I think of like, so we've been on winter break with my kids. Would I have gone skiing if I didn't have my kids? Would I have gone tubing if I didn't have my kids?
Right. If it's something that would spark joy or fun just for you, would you have done it?
Yeah. Yeah. My daughter and I are going to go build little word bracelets at the mall.
Mhm.
Would I do that on my own?
Right.
I don't know. And
Right.
that's something that I think we've really got to talk about internally because the answer should be a resounding yes. And I know that's what it should be, but we're all about being real here and not the should be's, right? Like that's it's your birthday is
Right.
all about being your authentic self and not the
Yep.
should be's.
And just own it, right? Hmm.
Yep. So, my challenge to the women out there is would you play on your own?
And if you're not, what's stopping it?
Yeah.
How do we have a relationship with those parts? Because if the end game, if the answer is I want to, let's make that a reality. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love what you said earlier. You said it can be hard to have that part in life when you have this power position, whether it's raising kids or within a company or whatever that might be. And I love, and what you said is it's hard. And I do find that oftentimes people say it's hard. And I always find myself saying to them, you didn't say impossible. You said hard. No one ever has ever said to me, and I've been in private practice 24 years, that's impossible. They might say it's fucking hard. It's unimaginable, but they never say it's impossible. So if the idea of whatever that version of play seems really hard, we're just inviting you to challenge it, even though it is hard.
Yeah. And learning how to break through those rigid patterns. Like,
Oof, that could be a hard one. I mean, the
right.
perfectionism.
Yes. And,
Hmm.
as entrepreneurs and scientists ourselves,
Yeah.
although I'm going to take you off track again because I'm so good at this. So, a friend of mine challenged me to ask ChatGPT what they thought I looked like based on what they know about me.
Hmm.
And the picture was, I should find it on my phone and share it, but
Okay, we'll post it.
it was a white male. I don't know. I think I deleted it because I was mad.
Okay.
It
We'll
was
give you
a
the visual, which is what I love to do.
white male at his laptop with an easel and paint behind it. And I was like, so
Huh.
then I asked it, I was like, why do you think I'm a white male? And they said, based on your culture and success. And I was so pissed. I deleted the app. I was so mad. I was like, this was designed by white men. I was so angry. But yes. And so, like, and it also made me mad because I just like this white male looked heavy laden. He didn't look joyful. He didn't look happy. And I was like, that's not me. It's fine.
Mhm. Right.
So, here's what I would say no matter how busy or overwhelming your life is in this moment, and believe me, Helene can vouch to this. I get that right now. I am
Oh,
in a
we get it.
messy season of life right now.
Yep.
You got to find ways to play. You've got to. Little ways.
Right. Because what we know about you, if you're listening to this podcast, what we know about you is that if your kids had a dentist appointment, you would go. If your husband or your partner needed medication, you probably would remind them to take it. So now we're asking you to do the things that we know you would do for others.
To do it for yourself. And it's not selfish.
It's not. Right.
It is healing yourself so you can be
Selfing.
there.
We're going to call it selfing.
I love that. It's
It's
selfing.
selfing.
100%.
The gifts of selfing. Oh, we're going to do that one day.
Yes. Oh, I love that because we need selfing. And that's what play is all about is selfing. And selfing is healing yourself for whatever reason. If it's to heal yourself because you want to heal yourself, it's to heal yourself so you can be there better for people. If it's to heal yourself to be better in your job, like whatever your reason for selfing is, do it.
Right. Even if
Do
it
it.
feels uncomfortable, like Christina said, if you
Mhm.
see yourself right now as someone who's more rigid, who gives yourself some really strong boundaries, if you're perfectionistic, we're just asking you to practice play. I love the word practice. Practice play, practice selfing.
And you never know what you're going to discover.
Mm,
When you learn how to play, you're
yeah.
never going to know what you discover about yourself. You might discover a sport that you're really good at. You might discover the power of deep core belly hurting laughter. And I love that. Like,
Yeah.
so after our ski day, we were riding home and it was my best friend, myself, and our two oldest. And her son is just funny. Like he says offhand
Mm,
crap, sarcastic stuff. And he just says it like so seriously and kind of quietly that I like hyena laugh. And it was probably dangerous because we were in the middle of like a really dense fog driving home. And he has me laughing. And I finally was like, you need to stop because I need to be able to drive. And I'm going to like take us off the road. And there's a police car there. And like, this isn't good. And he just continues on. I was like, I'm going to pull over in the best of ways. And
mm.
we were just roaring. And so when the trip was coming to an end, like everybody was like, what was your favorite part? And I was like, the car ride home from skiing. And
Oh,
all I had to do was say that. And like your Hakuna
you could
Matata,
tap right into it.
the four of us just started giggling. And everybody else looks at us and they're like, we don't get it. And we didn't even know how to explain it. I couldn't remember what he said.
Right.
Like it just was a funny moment and
Yeah.
exactly what we needed in that moment. So you never know what you're going to discover when you play. That's what I would say. And, like how was Play Doh discovered? It wasn't discovered by people just like, oh, I'm going to make Play Doh for kids to play with.
Right. It was totally chance. And they just put like a whole bunch of stuff together. And guess what? Thank you, Play-Doh people, because we probably found it on like the inside of like all of our tables as moms. But it brings such a joy to people and creativity.
It was accidental.
Accidental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we really, really, really want to invite you to let go of perfectionism, embrace that trial and error. I'm really
Without
good at all the
judgment. Remember,
things.
Christina and I are all about don't judge it.
No,
Mhm.
no.
Right.
And it's, you know what? Nobody's perfect at everything.
Not supposed to be.
No, we're not. It's not who we are. So let go of that. And if you can laugh at yourself, if you can find joy in being able to look at yourself as not perfect, life is so much more fun.
Right. And people want to be around that person.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of people who potentially come across as they're perfect, they wound up so really tight, like their energy propels people away. But if you're more human and you're selfing and you're like I was on that pickleball experience and I was like, well, I just fucked that one up. And if you listen to like the gift on the couch from like 2 weeks ago, and this gentleman said, what's the best that could happen? We're second place. I was like, oh yeah. Like I just started laughing and I let it go. And the rest of the game, I did great. So
Yeah.
when you can laugh at yourself and be human, you may have more of those magical moments than when you're wound up really tight, like we try to get away from. At least I do.
Yes. And I find when I get serious about pickleball, I make more mistakes than if I am relaxed and don't give a shit.
Oh yeah, my husband would be like, "You're all in your head." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ah, I know." Yeah,
Yeah. And that's what play does. Play helps us to get out of our head. It calms our bodies. It helps us to focus. It helps improve our memory. It helps improve our gastrointestinal system, our heart, all of it. So go
yeah,
find yourself setting goals. Ugh, New Year's resolutions. No goals for more time for play. Schedule it in your calendar, as Helene likes to remind us. Put it in there and don't delete it.
right. Show up for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And remember that mistakes equal growth. We talk about this all the time. My daughter came home with like mistakes on her math test and she was so distraught. And I was like, well, what's the power of this? She goes, I won't make that again because I learned from it. And I was like, yep.
There you go.
And I say that all the time to my perfectionist patients. If they come in and they like my teens and they've failed a test, I celebrate them and they get so awkward and uncomfortable and literally want to climb under my
You're like, why am
couch.
I here? Uh-huh.
And I'm like, we are celebrating this because A, it's a learning experience. You are going to go through that test like a fine tooth comb and you are going to have that material stuck in your brain till you're 99.5. And you now know what it feels like and you survived it and you're okay.
Right. You're through it.
You're okay. And if it
Right.
happens again, you know how to deal with it.
Right. And I think you and I both are like, we're very real with people that we see in the office and probably people that we know in real life, right? You will have this experience again. Like years ago when I saw mostly teenagers, haven't done that in a while. And if there was like bullying or some really difficult things going on, and I would tell the parents, like, this is okay. We're going to give the support. We're going to make sure they're safe because they're going to meet this person again, whether it's in
Mm-hmm.
college, it's at work, it's
Mm-hmm.
if they have a family on the soccer field, like you will meet a
Mm-hmm.
version of this person again. So let's work through it in a supportive,
100%.
loving, healthy way now. And know that they have the skill set and that they can get on the other side of it.
Yes.
It's
And
like
it's
that.
in those really tough, difficult moments
Yeah.
that we have to go back to the power of play. And, when you're studying hard, when you're working through a difficult emotional moment, when you're dealing with difficult personalities, that's when I think you really need to play more
I
to
love that.
relieve yourself of that stress that goes with it.
Right, because when you release some of that tension, that muscle aches, all the stuff that you talked about when we first started today, you get to access the memory, the calmness to take in whether you're at a board meeting and you're feeling activated and stressed, and you can just think about like one of us playing
Mhm.
pickleball and both laughing at ourselves for that hot moment. Then you can be present or
Mhm.
reminding your kid, like, this is just a test. We'll get through it.
Yeah, it's yes, 100%. And then do something fun with them to celebrate it being over.
I love that.
Yes. So, friends, showing up for you and listening today tells us that you desire more fun in your life, and we are here to encourage you to do it. We are cheering you on. We know that we aren't the only ones that need more play in our life. So, if you have others that are in your life that need play, share this episode with them right now and tell them that they have to listen. We would be grateful if you left us a positive review and come hang out with us on Facebook, Insta, and LinkedIn during the week. Until next Thursday, happy birthday!